What are you making for dinner tonight? Something is approaching me with a question. I, no longer being able to even see it as a human, I never responded. Then, quickly washing the dishes, I headed to the bedroom to sleep.
Hey, Madison? What's wrong?
That noisy something followed me. Annoyed, yet ignoring it, I entered the bedroom and closed the door. I have a part-time job tomorrow. I need to sleep early. No time to deal with that noisy something.
Madison, I don't know what you're mad about, but don't ignore me.
Something entangled me with a voice that sounded somewhat desperate. Despite its noise, I continued living my life as usual.
I don't know what you did, but it's probably your fault.
David was talking to that noisy something, but I didn't care. The nerve to even talk to me, that's the only feeling I had for it.
To me, it's just something noisy,
I said with a smile. I am Madison, a 36-year-old housewife working part-time. I have a husband, Thomas, and a son, David. I met Thomas when I was in college. I moved to the city for college and was living alone.
Please, we're really short on people.
Okay, I understand.
But I might not talk much, is that all right?
I was invited to a party where Thomas was, just to fill in the numbers.
Madison, are you okay?
Tired maybe? Being from the countryside, I was mostly silent to avoid embarrassment. Thomas kindly spoke to me, making funny stories that made me laugh. Thanks to him, I was able to relax the nerves and found myself attracted to him.
Hey, Madison.
If it's okay, can we exchange contact information? I'd like to talk to you more. So, when he asked me at the end of the party, I was thrilled. Then, I immediately told my best friend, Lily.
I wish I had a boyfriend too.
We're not boyfriend and girlfriend yet. Lily is a childhood friend from the childcare center, and since we're best friends we share everything. She has a neat and cute appearance, always being called cute by others.
Lily, you're cute. It's easy to find yourself a boyfriend, isn't? I'm tired of hearing I'm cute. I'm not interested in someone who doesn't see me beyond that.
Despite her neat appearance, she speaks her mind. This personality made her somewhat isolated. But I've always liked her for it.
Congratulations, anyway. Let me meet him when you move to the city.
Of course. She didn't pursue further studies, opting to work locally for her dream, making it hard to meet often. Yet, talking daily was enough for me. Thomas and I started dating after several meetings, followed by him asking me out. Our relationship went well, and we got married soon after I graduated.
Thomas, I think I'm pregnant. Really? Well done, Madison.
Initially, I worked as a clerk, but after getting pregnant with David, I quit my job to become a housewife since Thomas requested so. Years later, when David started elementary school and became less dependent,
I'm thinking of starting a part-time job. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It must be boring being alone at home while David's at school.
I discussed with Thomas and started working part-time. It was challenging at first, but now I enjoy it. Life was peaceful and ordinary.
Madison, please don't monopolize the boys too much.
One day, I received a somewhat angry message from mother-in-law Gil. In short, she hasn't seen Thomas and David recently and wants to see them. She didn't want to see me, so she asked to send them alone to the in-laws' house.
Is that so? I'll let Thomas know.
Gil adores her only son Thomas and her grandson David. On the other hand, she sees me as the enemy who stole her precious son.
You've given birth to an heir, you're nothing but useless now.
Yes, she actually boldly said that to me once. Father-in-law John, on the other hand, maintains a stance of non-involvement. Whether I'm scolded by Gil or kicked out of the in-laws' house, he doesn't give me a second glance.
David is smart. A true heir indeed.
But it seems he only cares about David. He adores him along with Gil. It's only me who's not welcomed in that house. So, I just have to endure it alone.
I'm home. Welcome back. Hey, do you have plans with friends this weekend? Nothing special. I'd rather hang out with Dad if anything.
David answers while washing his hands. To him, I say,
Grandma wants you to come over and play.
He suddenly makes a complicated face. I decided to ask him more about it.
It's just, those two, they treat me like a baby.
According to David, they think it's okay to do whatever they want with him as long as they provide snacks and toys. They want to pamper him without letting him be free. Hearing this from David, who spoke with an unusually calm demeanor for a child, surprised me.
If I have to go, I'd rather visit Grandma on your side.
I respond with a wry smile. My parents live far away in the countryside, so it's hard to visit them. We barely see them once a year. I'll talk to Dad when he gets home. To that, David says, Okay, and goes back to his room to do his homework. Watching him leave, I was wondering how to discuss this with Thomas. Thomas is a department manager at a large company and usually comes home late. Even today, he came back after David had gone to bed.
Mom said to bring David over next time.
Of course, without me. I start the conversation, and Thomas makes a displeased face. It seems he's also annoyed by Gil's doting.
I've got a business trip this weekend, so I can't go.
Though he was surprised by the sudden news, it was not the first time. I just simply responded, Oh, is that so? Because of Thomas's business trip, they can't show their faces at the in-laws' house. But the thought of having to call Gil and refuse is bothersome. That's probably why he looked so displeased.
Well, I guess I have to be the one to break it to her.
I'll call her later. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Maybe you and David should go out, just in case she decides to show up at the house.
I thought about it for a moment. He'll be leaving for the business trip on Friday. Maybe it's a good idea to visit my parents' house, as David wished. After discussing it with David, we decided to go to my parents' house right after he came back from school.
Yay! I'm happy to see Grandma and Grandpa.
David's happy face made me feel it was worth to endure calls from Gil. It was a few days after spending the weekend at my parents'.
It's been a while, Madison. Do you have a moment? I need to vent. Sure, I can make time.
One day, Lily contacted me. Ideally, it would be better if she visited on a day where I don't have to go to my part-time job, but it might be difficult since she's coming from the countryside. While I was thinking about how to arrange it,
Actually, I've moved near your house.
She surprised me with the news. Turns out, Lily lives not too far from my area. So, we decided to meet at a nearby cafe.
Why didn't you tell me earlier?
Meeting up at the cafe, I immediately said so and Lily smiled.
Sorry, I've been busy with my startup.
It seems she started her own business about 10 years ago. She's been busy stabilizing her business performance.
And I know childcare is tough, so I hesitated to invite you.
You didn't have to worry. I know you're too nice, Madison. You'd sacrifice your own comfort if I said I wanted to meet, even if it's hard on you. That's why I couldn't just ask. I can't help but laugh wryly at her accurate comment. So, what's the vent about? It's about my boyfriend. Apparently, she has a boyfriend she's been dating for 10 years. They had a sleepover at Lily's house last weekend. We talked about marriage. But her boyfriend didn't agree. And that's not the only thing bothering her.
Wait, he has a kid?
Yeah, but that's fine.
Single parents are common these days.
Her boyfriend is a single father with a 10-year-old son. However, he hasn't let her meet his son yet.
I really want to move forward with marriage talks, given my age. I at least want to meet his son. Did you tell your boyfriend that? Of course. But he keeps putting it off, saying sometime soon.
Lily wants to progress the relationship because she's serious about it. I could tell from the way she talked.
By the way, what's this boyfriend of yours like?
A gentleman. He's a department manager at a big company nearby. I think his son's name was David. Hearing that, I was shocked. The description Lily gave of her boyfriend matched Thomas. He did say he was going on a business trip over the weekend. I hadn't thought much of it, considering it usual, but is it normal to have sudden business trips on weekends, which are supposed to be days off? With that thought, I desperately tried not to show my anxiety and asked Lily,
"What's your boyfriend's name?"
"Thomas." Hearing that made me go silent. The details matching up like this, it was almost certain.
"Madison, what's wrong?"
Nothing. I couldn't bring myself to share my thoughts with Lily. I was afraid of putting a strain on my relationship with Thomas and Lily. How could this happen? Then, I began to ponder. Could Thomas and Lily be having an affair? But Lily thinks Thomas is a single father.
Is Thomas deceiving Lily, or is Lily lying?
The more I thought about it, the more depressed I became. How did the two of them even meet? As I was troubled by these thoughts, Gil contacted me.
"Madison, we don't need you anymore."
"Excuse me?"
"Give up David's custody and divorce. Thomas already has someone better."
Those words hit me like a shock. Images of Lily came to my mind.
"You can never match up to her, a lady of such grace."
It had to be about her. Gil kept pressing as I remained silent.
"That girl is more suitable to be David's mom. So, step aside for Lily. She thinks Thomas is single, so your existence is a nuisance."
Hearing Gil's words, something inside me broke. And then, what flashed through my mind was Thomas's actions up to now.
"Mom expects a lot from you. That's why she gets harsh."
He never defended me from Gil's verbal abuse.
"Childcare is supposed to be the housewife's job, right?"
He hardly participated in household chores or childcare.
"Welcome back. Don't upset Mom too much."
Even when I was driven out of the in-laws' house, he didn't contact me and returned leisurely the next day. I started remembering Thomas's actions that I had endured despite feeling uncomfortable. I felt my love for him cooling rapidly. On top of that, he deceived my best friend and betrayed me.
That's not something a human does.
And then, I could no longer see Thomas as a human. That changed my perception of him. As usual, I made dinner, and after David went to bed, I started washing the dishes.
"I'm home."
Then I heard a voice. That something entered the living room.
"What are you making for dinner tonight?"
Something is approaching me with a question. I, no longer being able to even see it as a human, I never responded. Then, quickly washing the dishes, I headed to the bedroom to sleep.
"Hey, Madison? What's wrong?"
That noisy something followed me. Annoyed, yet ignoring it, I entered the bedroom and closed the door. I have a part-time job tomorrow. I need to sleep early. No time to deal with that noisy something. From then on, I continued to ignore that noisy something. Meals were made only for David and I. Laundry left undone was just left as is. I continued my household chores as usual without paying any attention to that noisy something. Then, something entangled me with a voice that sounded somewhat desperate.
"Madison, I don't know what you're mad about, but don't ignore me."
Despite its noise, I continued living my life as usual.
I don't know what you did, but it's probably your fault. I haven't done anything. Madison's mad at me one-sidedly. Whatever. I'm on Mom's side.
David was talking to that noisy something, but I didn't care. The nerve to even talk to me, that's the only feeling I had for it.
Mom, I'll help out. So go rest.
Thank you, David. David caring for me made him all the more adorable to me. I was smiling to David when that something suddenly declared,
"This can't continue. It's bad for David's upbringing. We need to have a talk."
Ignoring that something trying to contact somewhere, I continued my household chores as usual.
Then I'll call Mom's parents.
David, sensing my crisis, called my parents in response to that noisy something's actions. And so, our family and the group of that noisy something had a discussion.
"How dare you ignore Thomas?"
A hysterical something screeched. To me, her presence was nothing more than a something.
"Before we start, there's someone else I want to call."
"What?" Dad said, dialing someone on his mobile phone. The person who came to join us was my best friend, Lily.
"How dare you deceive me and Madison?"
She glared at the surprised something. I wondered why Lily was here. Then Dad explained.
"A few days ago, David told me something was wrong with our daughter. So, I had a detective friend look into it.
It turned out that something named Thomas and Lily were in a relationship. When Dad asked Lily, it became clear she was deceived by that something. It seems she was called to join the discussion after being contacted.
"And out of all people, you had to be my best friend Madison's husband." "Calm down, Lily. Are you all in on this?"
Then Lily began her torrent revelations. It appears she met that noisy something on a dating app. On their first meeting, that something told her he was a single father with a child.
"And you had the audacity to ask me to marry you when you were already married. I thought you were a sincere man, but you're nothing but a low scum." "Yeah, about that,
That something stuttered under Lily's glare, unable to find words to retort.
"So, you pretended to be someone else to get close to Lily. Were you planning to take David if anything happened? Well, I suppose your side of the family would have been noisy if David was taken away."
Mom muttered, somewhat angrily.
"Madison, I'm really sorry. I didn't know Thomas was your husband. I'll definitely pay compensation."
To that, I smiled warmly at Lily.
"Don't worry about it. For me, that husband doesn't exist anymore."
That noisy something was taken aback by my words. Pointing at that noisy something, I said with a smile.
"To me, that's just a noisy something."
Lily looked surprised by my words. But then, she muttered.
"You're right.
I've always been told I'm kind to those around me. Indeed, if someone was in trouble, I'd help, and if there was a disagreement, I'd give in. If there's a problem, I thought it better if I had endured. I can endure more than others, and if that makes everyone happy, then it was fine. That was my way of thinking.
You're a kind human being and always endure. But when you reach your limit, you're scarier than anyone."
Lily's words seemed to perplex that something. She then gave them a cold stare.
"All this time, you've taken advantage of her kindness and made her endure. Then, something triggered her limit. She no longer recognizes you as a human."
Lily explained on my behalf. I consider him and the in-laws just noisy somethings.
"I can no longer see them as human. So you ignore me because of that?"
That noisy something said with a trembling voice.
"That's cruel." "What are you saying? If Mom doing this is cruel, then what about your actions that you had been doing to Mom all this time?"
David, who was supposed to be in another room, appeared. Then that noisy something muttered.
"What are you talking about? When Mom was in trouble, you just ignored it, didn't you?" I never.
Why were you laughing when Grandma was yelling at Mom? And when she was kicked out, you were just drinking with Grandpa. Even when I kept asking you to help Mom, you did nothing. David ran up to me and glared at the noisy something in front of us. You were the first to ignore.
That's.
At that moment, Lily patted David on the head. Her eyes seemed to say, "Well said." So, this is how Madison has been treated. I understand now. How could you treat someone's daughter like this? We'll make sure to collect compensation for Madison and for myself. Lily and Mom glared at the somethings. Then, Dad pulled out some papers. I cannot leave my precious daughter in the care of a man like you. Sign this. I want to make things right with Madison. Even after seeing your daughter can no longer recognize you as a human? That noisy something, upon seeing the divorce papers, signed them with trembling hands. I felt his gaze on me occasionally, but it must have been my imagination. This ingrate! David is our precious heir. Leave him behind. What heir are you talking about? Shouldn't David's wishes come first? The female something screamed, but Mom shut her down. The male something was apparently being glared at by Dad. Not even trying to stop your wife's actions. As a man, how pathetic. I can't help it. She won't listen to me. David, you'd prefer to be with Grandma, right? To the female something, David held my hand and glared. I'm not a little kid, I don't want to be pampered. I want to be with Mom. David declared firmly. When did he become so dependable? I patted David on the head.
Madison, I'm sorry.
After that, Thomas and I never exchanged words again. He doesn't even exist in front of my eyes. To me, that noisy something just became silent. Hey, Mom. What was Dad like in your memories? Asked by David, I pondered. The husband in my memories had long faded.
Selfish, I guess.
Selfish. So, you don't like him anymore? How can I like someone who doesn't exist in this world? My words seemed to make something cry. Even seeing that, I felt nothing. I'm really sorry. I didn't realize I had pushed you so far. It's too late for regrets. I hate you and all of you for tormenting Mom like they did. At those words, the female something screamed. Stop making noise. You're really annoying. Lily said to the something, clearly irritated.
Thomas. I truly loved you, thinking seriously about marriage and children. Lily.
That's why I'll never forgive you for this. Never show yourself in front of Madison or me again. With that, something understandingly muttered.
Got it.
And so, that something who used to be my husband and I divorced. I was going back to my parents' house, where they told me to take a break for a while. Of course, David was with me. I'll never forgive him. I'll squeeze every penny out of him. Lily said so and even had a lawyer demand compensation on my behalf. She apologized to me for everything that happened. I'm really sorry. I ended up destroying your family. Don't apologize so much. It's not your fault, Lily. Why Lily was so unquestioningly involved with that something was simple. She didn't know my spouse. When we were dating, she still lived in her hometown. So there was no need to introduce them. We didn't really talk about it. I didn't ask much either. Our wedding was a small one with just close family. And on our day of the wedding, Lily couldn't make it due to her busy startup schedule. Therefore, she had no idea what my husband, now something, looked like or his name. And to think, I confidently used that dating app. Lily said with a wry smile. None of this was her fault. Yet she apologized sincerely multiple times.
How about this? I forgive you, so could you keep on being my best friend?
Of course.
I should be the one asking you, Lily replied, and I smiled back. Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded. Our friendship remained unchanged. On the other hand, something that was Thomas lost custody and had to pay us compensation before returning to the in-laws' house. Rumors spread about him cheating on his wife with her best friend, leading him to quit his job. Now, he's bottled up in the in-laws' house. What's unforgivable is that he started using dating apps because I got pregnant. According to Lily, he turned to infidelity because my pregnancy meant I couldn't attend to him. And so he sought relief through cheating. Indeed, that's indefensibly low. Madison, don't you feel angry towards Thomas? Yeah, though I still can't recognize that Thomas person. It seems this ordeal has taken a considerable toll on my mental health. I still can't recognize them as human. The doctor told me not to rush and to take my time to heal. David told me about the terrible treatment you received from the in-laws. It appears David felt helpless watching me being harassed, unable to protect me because he was just a child. That might have made him mature faster than his peers. Maybe that's why he's been a bit clingy lately. That's sweet, isn't it? Now he holds my hand wherever we go. And when I stroke his head, he smiles happily, which is just adorable. He says he wants to protect me from now on, so he wants to start wrestling. David really is manly. I wish I had a boyfriend like that, Lily said, looking downcast. Perhaps the deception she faced was partly because she was in a rush, given my marriage and pregnancy. I need to improve my judgment towards men. I'm rooting for you. I haven't told her, but I received a message from the something that used to be the in-laws. They demanded David be sent to them. Still obsessed with the idea of an heir. I'm not anyone's heir. I don't want to inherit anything from those people. Thanks to David's firm stance, they stopped contacting us, feeling dejected. Seeing how reliable David has become made me realize I need to change, too. Not just to endure, but to gain the strength to confront challenges. I've made up my mind to do so. Madison, I heard you're going to work. Yes, I'm starting today. After taking a break to fully rest my mind and body, with the doctor's approval, I've decided to work again. Earning child support is important, but so is contributing to David's upbringing. So, you're going to work as an office assistant, right? That's right. The lawyer offered me the job. I'll be working at the office of the lawyer who helped us through this ordeal. He had kept in touch with me and offered me a job at his firm. And so I decided to work for at his office. I'm actually looking forward to working. While the job will likely demand different things than my part-time work, I'm excited to start something new. It's a shame. I wanted to hire you. But the lawyer beat me to it, Lily said with a mock pout. I thought she would offer me a job too. But I wanted a change. Staying with Lily might have made me too comfortable. To avoid that, I accepted the lawyer's offer. By the way, Thomas's family home was sold recently. Apparently, the in-laws, who blamed everything on Thomas, kicked him out. And the neighbors were watching as he was dragged out. Already viewed negatively for harassing me, and now kicking out their beloved son only worsened their reputation. Unable to bear the scrutiny, they sold their home and fled. And now they've ended up homeless after messing up again in their new location. The in-laws couldn't change their ways, feeding to their downfall. And as for Thomas, he disappeared. Actually, I know where Thomas is. Afterwards, I received a letter from him at my parents' house. Initially, I couldn't bring myself to open it, but after healing, I finally read it. I truly regret everything. So, I'll live a life out of sight,
only to provide child support for David. The letter included a photo of Thomas taken at an overseas airport. He plans to live alone in a foreign land where he doesn't speak the language, without anyone's help.
Do you know anything, Madison?
No, I don't know anything. He might be cornered just like I was by now. But it's no longer my concern. And I decided to forget about it.
Mom, are you done talking? Yes, I'm done. Then, can you help me with my homework? There's something I don't understand,
David said, pulling my hand. I don't have the luxury to dwell on Thomas forever because I need to protect this child's smile. Afterward, I started dating the lawyer. He always respects my decisions, and David has grown fond of him too.
Mom always looks really happy when she's with you. That makes me happy too.
And to the lawyer he said,
Thank you for making Mom smile.
Hearing that made me so happy I almost cried along with him. By the way, David continues wrestling. His desire to protect me seems to have evolved into wanting to protect others.
I want to be a police officer who helps people in trouble, just like Mom was.
He says so and is working hard towards his dream. Meanwhile, Lily has finally found her happiness. Actually, a classmate asked me out. I know the classmate, he has liked Lily since high school. Back then, she was admired by everyone. So, he decided to work hard until he felt worthy of her. And after hearing her story, he came to meet her.
That's wonderful. This time, I'll definitely be happy. And you have to be happy too, Madison.
Of course. We promised to strive for true happiness this time.
You really have become someone who smiles beautifully. Yes. I've decided not to endure like before. It's made things a lot easier. That's good.
I learned something from the ordeal with Thomas. It's not just up to me to endure. Such a way of thinking ended up worrying David. For the sake of my precious child, I'll moderate my endurance and aim for happiness. With that in mind, I've started on a new path in life.